Hello students, today we are going to discuss, uh, already we have discussed Monera, so today we are going to discuss another kingdom, protists. Clear? So already the name is known to you, protists. What are the characters of protists? They are unicellular, they are eukaryotic, that means they have single cell. They are eukaryotic, that means the nucleus is well defined nucleus with membrane bound organelles. They are generally they are solitary. Clear? So one separately they live, but sometimes they are colonial, and mostly they are aquatic. And cell structure, already we have discussed that they are unicellular with well defined nucleus. And but the interesting thing is that sometimes they have more than one nucleus, like in paramecium it is binucleate. Likewise sometimes we find multinucleate also. Clear? And another thing which is seen in the protist, that is mesokaryotic, that is we know two types of nucleus. One is the eukaryotic, another is prokaryotic, but certain protists have in between the prokaryotic and eukaryotic as absolutely state in between this prokaryotic and eukaryotic, that is called mesokaryotic. Now, how the mesokaryotic nucleus is? It has nuclear envelope, but normally the chromosome, like that of the eukaryotic, it has the nuclear envelope. But normally, what happens in eukaryotic, the chromosome is formed from the chromatin material by the due to the presence of histone. A protein is there, basic protein is there, histone, which helps in formation of condensation of chromosome. In this mesokaryotic cell, this histone protein is lacking. So they sometimes they forms the condensation is there, but that is not due to the histone protein. And normally in eukaryote, what we are used to see that during cell division, the nuclear envelope disappears. But here, the nuclear envelope retains during the cell division. So that is a completely a different, not a different, but it a intermediate form of nucleus which are present in certain protists. Not that all protists is having that, but certain protists is having it. And cell wall may be present, may not be present. If present, it is generally made up of cellulose. So it is not that cell wall will be present, but if present, they are generally made up of cellulose. Locomotion, some do not have any type of locomotory organ like diatoms and all. They are mucilage propulsion. That means they release mucilage at a high with a huge force through their pores, and that helps them to move. So mucilage propulsion is there, but many of them have the flagella or cilia, or sometimes they have pseudopodia for the movement. Now, nutrition, they may be photosynthetic, autotrophic, they are photosynthetic. Many of the protists are there, like diatoms, dinoflagellates, all these are photosynthetic. Some are facultatively photosynthetic, that means not necessarily always they are photosynthetic. In presence of light, they are photosynthetic, in absence of light, they are heterotrophic. Clear? So that is called facultative photosynthetic. They're like euglena and euglenoids, and many are there which are absolutely heterotrophic, like slime molds, that protozoan, protist, etc. And when they are heterotropies, they may be ingestive. That means they can take food through their mouth-like parts, or they may be saprophytic. That means they release digestive juices and digest the food outside and then absorbs it the food. And or they may be parasitic, where they does not take the take the food from the living organism directly. They take the food from the living organism. So, and another important thing is that many of them are photosynthetic, and in ocean we know that ocean there are huge living organism. There is a huge amount of living organism lives in ocean. Clear? And we know 2/3 of our Earth surface is ocean, so it counts for a huge number of living organism, and there these protists are the chief producer. So in ocean, these protists are the chief producer there. Different types of protists are there, which acts as a producer in the ocean, photosynthetic protists. Clear? And reproduction, they may be asexual or sexual. Asexual, there are cell division, binary fission. Clear? And for cyst formation. And for sexual, they may have conjugation. They have anisogamy, isogamy, oogamy, and various processes of sexual reproduction. Now, next we will consider, we will discuss about the classification of protists. Now, protists is a comparatively it contains a numerous amount of organisms. So protists are classified into various groups. So you can see here, for convenience of our study, we have grouped protists into various groups. First of all, there are the photosynthetic protists, clear, which are plant-like. The plant-like, they can perform photosynthesis. So they are called photosynthetic protists, like dinoflagellates, diatoms or chrysophytes, and euglenoids. These are the plant-like protists, as because they can perform photosynthesis. Now there are slime molds, which are commonly fungi-like protists. Here they are mainly saprophytic, and they have very certain common characteristics that of the fungi. So they are called fungi-like protists, like slime mold. And animal-like protists are the protozoan protists. So protists can be grouped into dinoflagellates, chrysophytes, euglenoids. They are all plant-like, photosynthetic. They may be slime molds, which are very common, close to fungi, and there are protozoan protists, which have a very common characteristics with the animal. So first of all, we will discuss about the plant-like protists, that is dinoflagellates. Clear? So what are the characteristics of dinoflagellates? They are unicellular, just like other protists. Clear? And eukaryotic, obviously. Many of them are mesokaryotic, not totally eukaryotic. Many of them are mesokaryotic. Already we have discussed what we mean by mesokaryotic. So many of them have that particular characters of mesokaryotic nucleus, and you can see the cell is covered by a armor-like structures. Clear? And this contains numerous armor-like structures, which is sculptured. It is variously sculptured. You can see here they are variously designed or sculptured, and this it is divided into two parts. The upper one is called epitheca, and the lower one is called hypotheca. Now there is a longitudinal sulcus. Clear? Throughout the length there is a longitudinal sulcus, and and there is also a transverse groove called cingulum. Clear? So there is a longitudinal depression called sulcus, and there is also a transverse depression which is called cingulum. And you can see the sculpturing. This is done by the plates of cellulose or pectin. So variously sculptured. These are made by plates of cellulose and pectin. Clear? And they have two flagella, one through the transverse groove, the cingulum, that is ribbon like, and another through this longitudinal groove, which is narrow and smooth. So one is through the transverse groove, which is ribbon like, and another through the longitudinal groove, which is narrow and smooth. Obviously they are plant like, so they are photosynthetic, and these flagella, these two types of flagella, helps in spinning movement. Clear? And they are photosynthetic. They have chlorophyll A. They are photosynthetic. They have chlorophyll A, chlorophyll C. They have other pigments like keratin, xanthophyll. So they are called golden brown protists. Clear? Which keratin, xanthophyll, they are at various pigments. Clear? Which sometimes mask the chlorophyll, and so they appears to be golden brown, so they are called golden brown protists. Clear? And the reserve food is carbohydrate, oils, etc. Reproduction is by asexual as well as sexual means. Reproduction is by asexual means, by seed formation. Clear? And there are various dinoflagellates like gonolox, clear, which have red pigments, and they reproduces so fast, then when they are present, the tides appear to be red, so and they causes red tides. So gonolox, the dinoflagellates, they have red pigments, clear, and they appears to be red, and when they reproduces so fast that when they are present, the tides appear to be red. Gonolox catenella also produces certain toxin which are very toxic for the fishes and other vertebrates, that is called saxitoxin. Clear? And otherwise in ocean, dinoflagellates are the chief producer. So dinoflagellates are the chief producer in oceanic environment. Clear? Of ocean, they are the chief producer. So it has diatoms are the chief producers, but these dinoflagellates are also act as a producer in the ocean, but they are not the chief producer. And certain dinoflagellates like Navicula, clear, they have bioluminescence, that means they glow in the night. So next group of protists which we want to discuss here are the diatoms. Clear? Next group of protists which we want to discuss here are the diatoms. You can see they are unicellular. Generally they do not have any flagella. They are aflagellate except in the reproductive structures. Flagella is present only in the reproductive structures, otherwise they are aflagellate. Clear? So their movement is by mucilage propulsion, that means they releases mucilage with a great force, and that causes the movement, and they may be marine or they may be freshwater. Sometimes they are very rarely terrestrial also. Clear? And terrestrial, marine, freshwater or terrestrial. And when aquatic, they may be free floating, or sometimes they are bottom dwellers also. Now another important thing of these diatoms or chrysophytes are they have a silica. They have a covering made of silica. These are called fascicules, and these have two parts. The upper one, they are fitted. The two parts are fitted with one another, just like the soap box. The upper one is called epitheca, and the lower one is called hypotheca. Clear? So upper one is called epitheca and lower one is called hypotheca. So these are the silica made covering called fascicules. Clear? So diatoms or chrysophytes are generally covered with silica made covering called fascicules. So these are the fascicules you can see, and these fascicules are often, these are silica made, and these are often sculptured with various sculpturing. Clear? These fascicules are often sculptured with various sculpturing, and they may be bilaterally symmetrical or they may be radial symmetrical. If bilaterally symmetrical, they are called pinnate, and if radially symmetrical, they are called centric. So according to symmetry, diatoms can be divided into pinnate diatoms and centric diatoms. When they are radially symmetrical, they are called centric. When they are bilaterally symmetrical, they are called pinnate diatoms. And these sculpturings along with the fine ridges or pores, this is a very specific for a particular species. So these fine ridges, pores, these are very specific for a particular species. Photosynthetic and often is the major source of food in the marine ecosystem. So they are photosynthetic and they are often the major source of food in the marine ecosystem. Clear? So they have chlorophyll A, chlorophyll C in them, and apart from them, they are xanthophyll, fucoxanthin, diatoxanthin, which imparts various colors. So they are also called golden algae. Clear? So they are also called golden algae, or as because they have these various colors which are masking the chlorophyll. And so obviously they are photosynthetic and forms a major producer. These are the major producer in the producer as well as food resource for the marine ecosystem, and their food reserves are the oils and polysaccharides called leucocins. So food reserves, so obviously they produce food, and that is reserved as oil and leucocins. So these oils helps them to float on the surface. So they are very important phytoplankton. That means the majority of them float on the surface. Since this oil is lighter, they have a food reserve as oil, and oil they helps them to float on the surface of the water, and so they are the majority of the phytoplanktons are diatoms. Reproduction in diatoms, we find reproduction by asexual reproduction, where there is cell division. Clear? And interestingly, when the cell divides, the frustules, one of the frustules move to one of the daughter cells. So when the cell divides asexually, when they reproduce, one of the frustules move to one of the daughter cells, and these frustules which they are getting from the mother acts as a epitheca. So you can see here, this is the hypotheca here, but when it is going to daughters, it is acting as an epitheca. And this is epitheca here, when it is going to daughters, that is also acting as epitheca. And hypotheca is produced by the daughter during the division. So as a result, what happens? As they go on reproducing, because these hypotheca, you can see these are smaller than the epitheca. So the daughter which is getting these hypotheca as epitheca obviously will be smaller. And next, these hypotheca will act as epitheca, so it will be more smaller. So as this successively reproduces, they goes on reducing the size. And so to restore the size, they undergo a process of restoration until, clear, they again attain the optimal size. So after, when the successive decrease goes beyond the limit, then they restore their size, and this restoration process that continues till they attain their optimal size. And this is when they restore their size, that is called oxospore formation. So that is called oxospore formation. And apart from, so this is about the asexual reproduction. In sexual reproduction, they undergo sexual reproduction also, and there they forms the gametes, which are often motile. Clear? They may be they perform oogamy also, where the male is small and motile and female is large and non-motile, and sometimes the male gametes fuse to form with the female gamete to form a zygote, which ultimately develops into new individual. Another very important thing regarding diatom is the diatomaceous earth. Now you can see here, these are the flescules. These flescules are made up of silica, and this silica, we know, it cannot be decomposed. So the cell body which is present within this flescule get decomposed when they dies, but the silica covering that flescules does not get decomposed. So what happens when they dies, these whole body settles at the bottom of the seabed, and there the cell body decomposes, but this flescules remains. Since silica is indestructible, it remains like that. So you think millions diatoms dying and settling year after year in the seabed, and that forms a huge area which is called diatomaceous earth. Clear? So these flescules get deposited in the huge area of the sea floor, and that form the diatomaceous earth. Now these diatomaceous earth, they have a very rough surface, they are porous, they are gritty, and so these characteristics of the diatomaceous earth is used economically for production of polishes. They can be used as, since they are porous, they are used as filtrating agents for filtering syrups and drugs, etc. And they are also used for making toothpaste and all. So this diatomaceous earth is economically very important. Clear? So diatoms are important as they are main food source in the marine ecosystem, and they are also, when they die, they are this covering which form the diatomaceous earth is very important, economically very important for production of various products. Clear? And also diatoms are also important. They are very good pollution indicator. Whenever, clear, they are sensitive to pollutants, and so they act as a very good pollution indicators also.